I'd like to call to order this work session of the Boulder Valley School District. Laura, you've done the visual roll call, I assume?
I have, yes. Thank you.
I think I turn over to Rob, who then turns it over to Arlie and Sam. Is that the protocol here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kathy, and thanks everybody for being here this evening. Very, very excited, board members, to share with you some of the work we've been doing around defining post-secondary success. I'm happy to have our Assistant Superintendent, Sam Messier, and Arlie Huffman, our Director of CTE, here tonight to present to you all. Very exciting work, I think, that has been happening as we really begin to better define for our kids and for our community this concept of SOAR within our strategic plan. What does SOAR mean? How do we prepare kids to be successful in the world they're going to be entering into once they leave us here from the Boulder Valley School District? And so with that, I will turn the presentation over to Sam and Arlie.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So I think this might be the most excited I have ever been to give a board presentation because this, I think, is just so exciting and has the potential to be really beneficial for students. So, President Gephardt, members of the board, Dr. Anderson, it is with great pleasure that I present to you this update on post-secondary success as part of our strategic initiatives. So, as you know, our strategic plan, Altogether for All Students, is really aimed at 3 long-term objectives. Making sure that all students benefit from challenging and relevant educational opportunities, reducing disparities in achievement, and every student graduating empowered with the skills necessary for postgraduate success. So those concepts of Ignite, Equip, and SOAR. And while I think this particular initiative touches on all 3 of those, where I believe it really has an impact is in SOAR, as Dr. Anderson said. This is about ensuring that when kids leave us, they've got the wings ready to take flight. So just to set it up, like why are we even doing this, right? So if we start by thinking about the world of work, and the way that used to look, probably when some of us got out of high school or were in college. Back then, it used to be that if you graduated from high school, you could get a good job working on the factory floor somewhere for a pretty decent wage, probably a union job. And that could be a really viable living, right? Now, the workplace looks a lot different. So it's not that there are no jobs in manufacturing anymore. It's just that the jobs in manufacturing require a really different skill set. So the workplaces of today are not going to require people who can put parts on cars. They're going to require people who can program and troubleshoot those robots that put the parts on cars. And that's what we need to be preparing our students to be able to do. So I found this slide to be really, really interesting. These are the fastest growing jobs nationally. I don't think that in early 2019, any of us would have predicted that vaccine specialist would be the top fastest growing job nationally this year, or that diversity and inclusion manager might be on that list as well, which is really interesting to see. Both of those driven, I think, very much by current events. And we know that that's going to continue to evolve. So that's a little bit about the world of work. Let's talk about a little bit about how we have, sorry about the slides there, historically prepared kids. So it used to be, and it certainly was when I was in high school, that you chose a path. You chose a path, and there tended to be 2 paths that were laid out in front of you. One was the so-called college prep path, that prepared you to meet the entrance requirements to get into an institute of higher education and be successful there. And the other path was the vocational tech path. And those tracks tended to be set pretty early on in your educational career, and it's hard to move back and forth between them. Now, what we're seeing is that really to be successful, we want kids to have a both-and approach. We want them to engage in rigorous coursework that is going to prepare them for college or other learning opportunities that they might encounter after high school. But we also want them to get some real-world skills and have some experiences that are outside the classroom. So I thought this was particularly interesting, the companies that no longer require college degrees. As students are thinking about whether a college degree, a four-year college degree, is worth the investment, there's definitely some return on investment analysis that's happening for kids when they think, well, I could get a college degree and pay a lot of money for it, have a lot of student loans. And there are top companies out there that aren't even requiring kids to have that. And then this quote from the vice president of IBM, that candidates, they're looking for candidates who have hands-on experience. That's something that they're really focusing on. It's not competitive enough anymore to come out of college with your degree, never having had some practical experience and hope to get a job. You really need to have both those things. So companies right now are really looking for folks to come prepared with skills. And these are the top skills that companies are looking for now. And if you compare this with what we require in high school for computer science and practical experiences, I believe we only require 5 credits, 10 credits, 5 credits, 1 semester course in computer science or applied technology. How many of our students are really putting themselves on a path to acquire these skills, which are what employers are looking for right now? We also know that as the future of work continues to evolve, the way that it evolves is going to likely be difficult to predict. And so our graduates are not only going to need some skills that are viable right away, but they're going to need those skills to be lifelong learners and to have the confidence to keep learning and staying flexible throughout their careers. And so when we think about preparing our kids, they need to leave high school with more than just a diploma. And fortunately, we have a plan to get them there. That plan is something that we have named Grad Plus. Really excited about it. And the concept is that we want kids to leave us with more than a high school diploma. We want kids to leave us with a high school diploma plus a credential in one of these 4 quadrants. So the first of those quadrants is work experience, and that could come in the form of an internship, apprenticeship, or other work-based learning opportunities. The second quadrant is college credit. So this could be through completion of an advanced placement course and taking a test, or international baccalaureate, or could be through completing concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment courses. Third quadrant, industry certification. So this would be completing an industry certificate through a CTE course. And then the fourth quadrant, the seal of biliteracy, which is when students demonstrate fluency in a language other than English. And the advantages there to folks that are entering the workplace are tremendous. So, well, before I go there, I do want to say that I really want to thank Impact on Education for their help in developing this concept and working with us. And I want to also emphasize that these credentials are meant to be stackable. So we don't want a student to necessarily leave us with just one credential in one of those quadrants. Ideally, we want them to leave us with more than one because they're more powerful together than they are as single credentials. And part of the idea of this concept is to disrupt that traditional divide between academic experiences and tech experiences or hands-on experiences, and really get to a new model where we want all kids engaging in rigorous academics and having these real-world practical experiences. So we've got a lot of things that have already been happening in each of these 4 quadrants. So I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Arlie Huffman to talk a little bit about where we are with work-based learning.
Thank you, Dr. Messier. So, as you heard, we do have a start in several of these different areas, which is fantastic. What you're seeing in front of you now are work-based learning and specifically internship participation across the district from last year. And you can see it's a small number, but we do have a start in this. One of the things that stands out when you look at this is that really the opportunities for students are really not equitably accessible. So, for example, the business and marketing, our largest participation, is really only happening at Monarch High School through their business and marketing CTE program right now. So that's a big part of the work. To enable our access or increase our access across the district, one of the biggest needs that we have and the things that we've already started are expanding our partnerships with businesses across the district. That will enable our students to access a wide variety of different work-based learning experiences, which can range from classroom presentations about particular careers to job shadowing, internships, all the way through to apprenticeships. So if we go to the next slide, please. Another thing that we have seen some really pretty exciting growth in over the last few years is the number of BVSD students that are earning industry certificates. These certificates are the same that entry-level employees earn to be able to demonstrate that they have the job skills necessary to qualify for whatever job that they're in. So 2 of the most popular that we see our students completing are with SolidWorks, which is a software program for mechanical computer-aided drafting. It's very widely used in the engineering fields. And with ICAR is another large number. That's the national standard for the automotive collision repair industry. So with all of these certificates, some students are using those to get a foot in the door for their first job with a local business. We also see many students using those on their college applications. It gives them an advantage over students that may not have those levels of credential when they're applying to college.
Of course, access to advanced coursework that has the potential to earn college credit is a huge benefit for students, both in terms of preparing them academically for college, but also in terms of cutting their costs for post-secondary education. So we have a lot of students currently who participate in advanced coursework, whether it's advanced placement, international baccalaureate, or concurrent or dual enrollment. In this chart, you can see the actual number of students taking concurrent enrollment courses is increasing slightly every year, while the number of students taking traditional advanced courses has been declining. It's unclear to what degree that shift was impacted by the pandemic, but it wouldn't be surprising if students are choosing the college credit that comes with concurrent enrollment versus the opportunity to earn college credit through a sufficient score on an AP or IB exam, because that concurrent enrollment credit is something that's guaranteed if they pass that class. We've also increased the number of students who complete the Seal of Biliteracy, and I think that we've successfully made it more accessible to students whose language spoken at home is not English by adapting our process for qualifying. So we now have an automated process in Infinite Campus that identifies students that already qualify based on their coursework. And in 2021, we awarded 582 students with the Seal of Biliteracy. 75 of them came from bilingual homes and had previously received ELD services, and 52 of them were bilingual students who came from Spanish-speaking homes. So a really important thing for us, and I think one of the things that sets Grad Plus apart, is that we are building Grad Plus from the ground up with equity in mind. So we presented an early concept of this to our District Equity Council and asked for some feedback and thoughts. And really, these were the major themes that arose from that Equity Council meeting. One is that we can't wait until high school, right? We can't wait until high school to start building career skills and helping students explore possible career paths. So we need to start early in elementary school, helping students connect with what they're passionate about and what they want to pursue as careers, and understanding what the vast range of careers that are out there for them to pursue. The second major theme was this idea that we have to remove barriers to access to certain courses or experiences. And so some of those barriers to access might be related to transportation, if they have to travel to a different campus for a particular experience, or to an off-site internship or apprenticeship. We also want to be really sensitive to any potential conflicts with academic support classes or other coursework that students need to take. And then finally, the idea that we need to ensure that underrepresented students feel a sense of belonging in all Grad Plus experiences, whether that's advanced courses, concurrent enrollment, whether that's in a work-based learning experience, or in a CTE course. We want to make sure that all students from all groups feel that they belong there and that they can be successful there. And now I'm going to turn it again back to Dr. Huffman to talk a little bit about our future plans.
So as part of the ongoing strategic plan work, we've identified that one of the big areas of need is to increase access to new CTE programs across the district and expand those that we already have in place. And those programs are both at middle and high school. We have programs at every secondary school right now. So again, the groundwork is laid for that, but expanding that is a big area of need. The programs that we will be working on are going to be taking what we call a vertical format. So in other words, if a student gets excited or interested in something in middle school, there is a continuation of that program at the high school level, so they can get even deeper into it and expand their experiences across that. And as Dr. Messier mentioned, elementary school introduction is a key part of this. It's never too early for somebody to start exploring and learning about the careers out there in our world. And by doing that and integrating that into the elementary curriculum, we can be sure that those conversations are ongoing for the entire amount of time that a student is with us within BVSD. One of the other areas that you've heard us mention that we need to work on quite a bit is around our work-based learning. Again, we have a start, but we want to ensure that each student has access to multiple work-based learning opportunities no matter where they happen to live and no matter what school they happen to be enrolled in. So, and that is challenging. You know, our businesses are isolated in parts of the district, so we're going to be working very closely alongside them to make sure that we can provide that access for every student. When people think of work-based learning, they often only think of internships and apprenticeships, but mentorships and job site visits are very, very important, so a student can get a real-world view and experience of seeing what that particular career looks like. As we know, our business community here in BVSD is incredibly strong. So working alongside them to create these opportunities and these systems is a great opportunity for us within the district and really for the community as a whole. There will be, I'm sure, very, very excited to join alongside us with this.
We're also going to be looking to increase access for underrepresented students in our college before graduation opportunities, which would include advanced coursework. So in order to do that, we're going to need to ensure that our teachers are equipped with the skills to support students in challenging classes. The training that teachers get when they participate in AP Summer Institutes put on by the College Board. So we're really excited that this summer we have the funding to send a number of our teachers to AP summer training, and then continue in a cohort throughout the year that'll be focused on how we ensure that we are getting underrepresented students into those advanced courses. We also are looking at expanding the concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment opportunities, and doing that strategically so that more students have access to courses that make sense for their college pathways. And we need to continually support our educators in expanding their understanding of diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that their implicit biases don't create unintended barriers for students in accessing the variety of opportunities available through Grad Plus. We also have a little bit of work to do in the area around the seal of biliteracy. So we have made some changes in the application process. So a student no longer has to fill out an application if they've met the requirements. That'll show up automatically in Infinite Campus. But if a student does complete the application, that does notify our CLDE team so that they can reach out and identify if there's any way that they can offer support to that student in completing the seal. We also, I believe, really need to continue to communicate and publicly recognize the value of bilingualism to all students and hold that up as an important value in our community. We need to look for additional ways to support our bilingual students in meeting the English language arts criteria. So students have to demonstrate a pretty high level of proficiency in both English and in another language. And for some of our students who might be newcomers that join us in high school, meeting the English language arts criteria have been a little bit of a barrier. So we'll just need to be mindful of ensuring that they have the adequate supports to meet that. And we also need to increase access to opportunities for our heritage Spanish speakers to maintain and deepen their Spanish language arts skills over the full span of their PK-12 career. So right now, for our students that are in our dual language programs, we have limited opportunities at middle and high school for those students to continue to deepen their Spanish academic language. I'll hand it back to Arlie.
We get the opportunity to share with you a couple of examples of students that, while it wasn't called Grad Plus, really attained, stacked some of these credentials. So our first example is Maria. Maria is a 2021 graduate from Monarch High School. She also completed 2 programs at Boulder Tech. Through those experiences, she gained concurrent enrollment credit. She earned a couple of industry certificates and earned the seal of biliteracy. So what that was able to do is set her on a path where right now she is a freshman at CU here in Boulder, pursuing the prerequisites for a medical, a career in the medical field. So we have a short video from her that Sam will share now.
Showing that you're involved and showing that you put in the effort to wake up that extra hour earlier and maybe take that one extra class and study a little bit more, to get the seal of biliteracy and then take other classes and then leading to getting all these college credits might suck at the beginning, but it really, everything you do is for future you. And I did that throughout high school, and here I am in a great spot, have all this flexibility in college. I could graduate a year early if I wanted. It looks great for jobs that I have the seal of biliteracy. I have the proof that I can speak Spanish fluently. And I mean, it's just great. I positioned myself to be more than average, which in any employer's eyes, that is what they want.
And then these 2 young women are sophomores at Broomfield High School. And I think when you see them talk a little bit about their opportunities, they're focused in concurrent enrollment right now as sophomores. But what they speak to is how important it is to have the experiences in high school that help you connect with what you want to do as a career. And that sometimes is not easy without actually getting that experience.
For me, I have no idea what I want to do in the future, and having the opportunity to explore some of the career paths gives me, or like, classes that go into the career paths, it helps me come up with an idea of what I might want to do or what I definitely don't want to do. So it gives me the option to figure it out.
And we have these kind of opportunities at high school, but it's essentially like two birds with one stone. You get the elective credits out of the way, and it's going to make it so we can figure out what we want to do in college and not have to worry about classes so much.
And with that, Dr. Anderson, would you like to add something?
I do. Sam, Arlie, thank you so much. Before we turn it over to the board for questions, I just, what I think excites our team about this presentation is we see the world changing. We see the world of work changing right underneath our feet. Right? Whether you call it the Great Resignation, the Big Quit, folks across the country have realized that they're not living their purpose. They're not engaged in things that they want and like to do. And as we prepare our students for our future, we have to build a system that allows them to do that and prepares them in multiple ways. Kids are hacking their education right now, right? They're piecing together these opportunities in a system to get what it is that they want. College entrance is changing. Test scores are becoming less important. Kids' experiences and what drives them and who they want to be and what they've done and what they want to do and how they want to serve their communities is taking more and more weight. And so we've always done a good job of preparing students for college, and we've done a good job in spots in these other areas. And so I'm excited for us to begin to bring our systems together, providing options that hopefully inspire our kids to engage, try new and different things, build skills that we know are going to last for them. And just very, very excited about how we've packaged some of these things. Today's presentation, board members, is at a 30,000-foot view on purpose, right, as we wanted to roll this idea out to you and to our community. And then Sam, Arlie, and others on our team are going to be working tirelessly to continue to build these opportunities and pathways and connections. And so this is the first of, I would imagine, a series of updates on where we are with Grad Plus. I'll end with this. There used to be a time where having a high school diploma meant something when you sat down for a job interview. That graduating from high school, and I don't want to take away from that. I mean, kids do get great experiences in our schools, right? But a high school diploma alone is not preparing kids for the world they're entering. And the question that I've been asking our team is, if two individuals were going for a job, one with their high school diploma, the other who maybe dropped out early, got a GED or an equivalency, and got a couple of years of work experience, who gets the job? Who has the advantage? We feel like by thinking about our systems, creating those experiences, that kids who graduate from the Boulder Valley School District will be well prepared for whatever it is they want to pursue and ready to change as the world changes underneath them, as we've seen the world change underneath our feet over the past couple of years. So just wanted to add that context, and happy to turn the floor back over to Arlie and Sam or to Kathy to answer any questions the board might have.
Thanks. Thanks, Arlie. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Rob. So I'll open it up for questions. Kitty?
Yeah, thanks for that. It's really encouraging to see what we're going to be doing with our kids. It's exciting, I think. I have a couple of questions. How many languages do we have now for seal of biliteracy?
That is a great question. I don't have that off the top of my head. It is more than 20.
Okay.
But I can get that exactly for
Well,
you.
I don't need the exact number, that's fine, I was just curious. Because I remember a student graduating last year, and her seal of biliteracy was in American Sign Language, which I thought was pretty cool. And then talking about the heritage Spanish and speakers and improving their LA skills, do we have plans to have bilingual middle school and high school programs for the kids who are coming out of the elementaries?
Well, we do have those opportunities. I think that you could make an argument that those opportunities could be more robust. So we do have bilingual programs in 2 of our middle schools, and we do have really strong Spanish programs in all of our high schools. So those opportunities are available. I think that our goal would be to ensure that all kids have access to those. So that would be the challenge.
Yes, I'm sure it is a challenge.
And if I could add, April 26th is when we'll be bringing to the board an overview of our CLDE programming and our Bilingual Pathways. I want to be really clear. We have work to do, right? We do have programming, and kids are taking advantage of that. But I believe that we have a lot of room for growth systematically to create those opportunities in all parts of our district. So more to come on the specifics on April 26th when we present that to the board.
Thank you. And then the last question I have is for concurrent enrollment, does a student have to be, say, a junior or senior to do that, or can they be at any level?
Well, they can be at any level, and obviously we see the largest number, junior and senior. But as we saw with the twins in our video, they're currently sophomores and in concurrent enrollment. So we're seeing a growing number. One of the things that we want to do is be creating a system that when a student is entering high school, if they're ready in a particular area, that we've got the supports set up for them in 9th grade so they could take advantage of that.
That's great. Thanks.
Richard, and then Lisa.
Thanks for the presentation. It was wonderful. I've got a few questions, and I want to go back to slide number 16, is it? Or 15? College before graduation, and you have numbers there like in 2020, 2021. I believe, 1016, is that the number of kids that were taking concurrent or dual language enrollment?
That's correct. In 2021, we had 1,016 kids doing concurrent or dual enrollment.
Okay. And do you have, is it desegregated?
We can pull that data. Yes, I don't have that available at my fingertips.
Great. I'd be curious to find, to get information on your students who are taking those particular classes.
Absolutely, and that is absolutely a goal of Grad Plus, is to reduce the disproportionality that we see in the access to all advanced opportunities, whether it's AP, IB, or it's concurrent or dual enrollment.
Thank you. And I see, and thank you for the information on the seal of biliteracy in terms of how many kids that are coming out that are bilingual, et cetera, et cetera. So thanks for that information. What are we doing to move that message forward now so that the parents of the children are also aware that the kids have this opportunity for them?
Yeah, I think that's the next step as we begin to start to build this out. April 26th, we'll talk to you all about some of the bilingual pathways, our CLDE programming. This is really our official community kickoff of this idea of Graduation Plus. So we'll be working with our business community. We've been working with Impact on Education, who's been a wonderful partner in helping us think through how do we begin to start to piece these experiences together for kids. And so I think that today's the kickoff. and we'll continue to provide the board updates and information on how we build these things out, and really just try to create an energy within our community around these ideas being the big ideas that our community supports when they think about the education for their kids. I was part of, and I think several of you as board members were part of the Building a Better Colorado conversations that we've had I think it was like a couple of months ago. And when the facilitators, for those who don't know, Building a Better Colorado nonprofit goes around the state. This year's topic was education, to try to find out what our citizens are looking for in education. And in the Boulder meeting, which was a virtual and in-person meeting, the question was asked, what are the types of experiences that you'd like for your kids to have? And overwhelmingly, it was these career, work-based, life-based types of experiences. So we feel like we're certainly on the right track. Now it's building these things out with fidelity and then making sure they're equitable, that those are the next steps as we start to evolve these issues. You'll notice, board members, that many of the things that are embedded within this big idea, bringing these ideas together of Grad Plus, have been strategic initiatives that were initially within and embedded within the strategic plan, or metrics that were embedded in our strategic plan metrics as outcomes we'd hope to see as a result of successful implementation of our strategic plan. We feel like this wraps this up in a very nice way to create a vision for kids, our teachers, our schools, and our community on what we hope to become as we try to get kids to soar after they leave us here from BVSD.
Well, thank you so much for that, Rob. I do understand that this is the beginning, and there's going to be a lot more work to be done on there, but I believe it's an opportunity that we have now to ask you some very specific questions in terms of what other things can we do, okay? In your presentation, and I also want to let you know that I sit on as a trustee for the Board of Community Colleges in Colorado. And as we hear information from some of our presidents in community colleges, a lot of them are talking about how many students that they have that go through the community college system that are in high school or during concurrent enrollment and dual enrollment, that are actually receiving two-year degrees before they leave high school. I didn't hear that in your presentation, and I don't know where you're at with that, or if that's something that you're contemplating. And if you are contemplating it, how intentional is that going to be as it relates to how does this two-year degree serve that particular student in going into a four-year institution or wherever they're going to go, okay? So, and again, just to let you know that I also have a couple of visits to make with the teacher, the Pathway to Teacher programs that we have, and that'll happen, I think, next week. So, and that's the one that I'm very interested in terms of a possibility for it to have a two-year degree once the kids finish that. Anyway.
So we've had initial very positive, we've got a great relationship with Front Range, and we had a meeting about a month and a half ago as we started to roll out this vision and how do we begin to really expand in a significant way access to these concurrent enrollment courses so all kids at all schools can access those. You know, the trick with concurrent enrollment is you want to offer courses that transfer to state universities. Right, you can get 60 credits and earn an AA, and then have to go if you can't enter a program because you haven't taken all the prerequisite courses or transferable courses. Right, I think that prior to us really kind of leaning in on this, we had some great courses that were the result of individual schools and partnerships and just kind of a mishmash of opportunities. But it will absolutely be possible for kids to be able to earn an AA from BVSD as long as the courses we provide are in alignment with what kids want to major in the state universities. We're currently working right now to expand and grow those opportunities. Right, in the future, right, I think what you're really describing, Richard, is kind of a series of courses and a pathway that's that allows kids to earn that AA in a cohorted specific way. And I think that we're investigating what's the best way to do that while providing those opportunities for all kids. So absolutely an opportunity. When I was a high school principal, board members, you may remember this from when I interviewed a few years back, for those of you that were around. We had, at the high school I was at before I left being a principal, we created a collegiate academy where kids would be able to do this. And you can pair AP exams, IB courses, and concurrent and dual enrollment and experiences to create really rich opportunities for kids. What I would always tell kids, and I say it to this day, every time you earn a concurrent enrollment, it's like you're getting a scholarship, right? And if you earn having a senior in high school and looking at college expenses, right? If you get an AA, that's like a $60,000 to $70,000 scholarship if you're going to stay in state, and even more for those that are going out of state. So really, really great opportunities. I know that these have been priorities of many of you board members for a long time. We're excited to start to begin to putting these big ideas into action here in BVSD.
Thanks again, Rob. And just one more particular comment that I'll make, and then I'll shut up here for a minute. Dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, is something that was really looked at, and it's been around for a while. Concurrent enrollment has been around for a long time, because I remember my kids, when they were in high school, they were taking concurrent enrollment. It was a little bit different, though, because they had to kind of take classes until they couldn't take classes. For example, Spanish, okay? They would take Spanish classes, and then the district couldn't offer any more Spanish classes, so therefore they could enroll at CU or wherever and take the Spanish class, and the tuition would be paid. But it was that requirement that they couldn't just take classes at the college level just because they wanted to take classes. It had to be a class that was actually tied into a class that they were taking at the high school level that they couldn't take anymore. Anyway, I don't know if that still works that way or not. The reason why it picked up a lot of steam in terms of dual enrollment is because of the numbers of undocumented students you had in our system. And this was a way to assure that undocumented students would be able to get college degrees because there was no in-state tuition and, all of that. They wouldn't qualify for all of that. So I'm hoping that we can still continue that frame of mind in terms of, when we start thinking about offering concurrent enrollment or dual enrollment, is to think about that, as we're moving along.
Absolutely, and I will say I think concurrent enrollment has evolved from what used to be an opportunity for kids who were considered advanced kids who needed a more advanced opportunity that we didn't offer. And our vision for concurrent enrollment is to move towards opportunities for kids to get learning experiences that will get them a head start on what comes after high school. And might not be the kid who's taking AP calculus, right? It might be the kid who wants to be an EMT and is going to take that class in emergency medicine and also get an industry certificate and get concurrent enrollment for that. They can do that right early.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Lisa?
Thank you. I have a few questions, but I'm not sure which ones are right to ask. So I guess my first question is, when we're talking about wanting to find ways to do things and to implement solutions, and that's sort of a lot of what this presentation is, where is this presentation in the timeline of what we're doing? Like, when would we expect to hear something more fleshed out and clear about timelines and expectations?
So I would expect board members, as we head into budget season, budget requests, you'll see some investments there that we would need to continue to move the work forward. We're happy to circle back and get on a regular rhythm with the board in regards to updating you on where we are in these 4 distinct areas. How are we creating career and work-based experience? How are we increasing access, equitable access to advanced coursework? How are we working in regards to increasing access to our bilingual pathways? And how are we working to create the experiences for students to be successful in industry certifications? And so we certainly can get in a rhythm on where those things are, or can come back and provide the board a more detailed action plan that's with each 4 of these experiences.
All of that would be great. Maybe you could tell me, like, what things could students expect to see in the fall that would be different? Anything?
I know that the team is working on some budget requests to create some of these opportunities, and I know that we've already met with Front Range, and I know College Before Graduation has been increasing those accesses and opportunities. So I'll let Arlie kind of speak to those.
The College Before Graduation is growing tremendously, and the strategic plan initiative work has identified a couple of pathways to prioritize. One is around comp sci and IT, so we'll be looking at supporting that, and then another is actually in the healthcare. So we're just starting the work on that, but it is in process, and it is in the conversation.
Okay, well, I'll look forward to hearing more. I think this is really exciting stuff, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll put away some of these questions then, but I do still have 2. I appreciate the sort of immediate, like, direct real-time acknowledgement of the things that Equity Council was talking about in this presentation. I'm wondering, when we're trying to look at how to make these changes happen, how closely are we able to pay attention while we're implementing these changes, and are we able to pivot as things are or aren't working throughout the course of a year? Or are we looking at something where we try it for a year and then we figured out what didn't work, or is it a sort of week-by-week change?
Well, I think that we have to, if we're really going to do this in a way that's equitable, if we're really going to remove barriers, we can't just do this upfront process of asking the Equity Council what we should be doing to make it equitable and then leave it. We're going to have to continue to come back to that question of how are we ensuring that access to all of the opportunities in Grad Plus are available to all of our students. How is that being equitable? And so I believe that consultation with Equity Council is going to have to continue throughout implementation for us to really be able to stay true to that vision.
I appreciate that, and I think that consultation is important. But what I was asking was, as we go throughout the year, like, what are we doing to figure out whether the things we're putting in place to recruit more students and to make sure that our teachers are recognizing more students who are open for opportunities and things like that? How are we checking regularly to make sure that's happening, rather than just waiting a year and saying, well, that didn't work, what are we going to try next year?
What we're planning to do is really integrate that into the data that we're collecting right now. I mean, you're getting a little snapshot of this. It's definitely going to be a two-way conversation, not only with the students, with the teachers and the community, to try to identify the metrics that make sense. You're getting at we're at the beginning stages of this, and we're very aware that our data probably aren't sufficient right now. So that is a key part of what we're identifying as part of our strategic plan initiative team.
Yeah, and what I would add is that students are going to need a lot of support in thinking about which opportunities they choose and how they explore that. And so, in addition to just having these opportunities available, we're going to have to strengthen our ICAP process, the individual career and academic plan counseling process for students. And that is just going to take more time and attention to make sure that we're doing that in a really authentic way and having regular conversations with kids that help pair them with the opportunities that really speak to their passions.
Well, I know we're running out of time here, so I'm going to leave the rest of my questions, but I hope we can do this again soon, because I think that there's a lot here that we have to talk about, given that we're 30 seconds away from the end of the hour. I do want to mention that Youth Equity Council has a lot to say about ICAP, and I hope that you have the chance to consult with them about some of that.
Nicole?
And I know we're running out of time, so we can maybe hold some of these. The questions that were top of mind for me were, as we're thinking about building these programs out, are we looking at what the industry and our businesses are looking for? Are we talking to students and seeing what they want to take? And does that vary by geographic region? So that's one big question. And then my second question was, how might this impact or cause us to think about our graduation requirements overall for our students?
So first question, yes and yes. So we look at, in deciding what pathways were the highest priorities to build out, we looked at information about career demand in this region, and we looked at student interest in pathways based on what students had selected in their ICAP. And graduation requirements, yes, we absolutely have to reopen that conversation, because I think the last thing we want is for our graduation policy to put up barriers to students being able to access opportunities. So we just want to make sure that it's really well aligned with where we want to go.
Thank you for that. And I'm glad you guys are doing this. As many of you know, I was able to go to college and graduate school because I took dual enrollment classes and because I got a certificate while I was in high school. So this is a big deal to open up doors for folks. And so thank you for taking this on.
So Rob, we obviously are running out of time, and this is a really important issue for the board and for the district. So I'll see if Beth and Stacy have questions, but what I'd like to figure out is how we bring this back soon, because there's still a lot more questions, I think, to be asked and a lot more exploring to be had, and I don't want to put our public off too late. So can we put our heads together at some point and figure out how to bring this back really quickly, like maybe sometime in April? I know we're going to be cramming things in, but this is really important. So, okay. Beth?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think that all of these questions show just our excitement and energy for this topic. I agree with everyone. Thank you so much for sharing tonight. And I don't want to go over time, but I'm going to second what Richard said about disaggregating the data. I think that'd be really helpful to give us some context, like who are these students? Who are we looking at? I want to be sure that we have more context and understanding. Are we reaching our students of color, and what does that look like? A couple questions in no particular order, and a lot of my questions have been addressed, but you had said that we are working to ensure that underrepresented students feel a sense of belonging. I think that's absolutely great. I'm wondering if you could be a little bit more operational about what that would look like and what ideas we have regarding how to ensure students who are underrepresented feel a sense of belonging. And then my second question is, I heard you say that we may be introducing CTE and Grad Plus in the elementary school level. I'm just kind of curious about that. What would that look like on the elementary level?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the elementary level, I think that what we imagine is that's exposing kids to more career options, and that could look a lot of different ways. But I think that exposure early on is potentially really helpful. The question about how we foster a sense of belonging in all of the Grad Plus opportunities for students. So we will be investing in a more fully fleshed out equity, diversity, equity, and inclusion professional learning plan for our staff. I think that's going to be critical, because I think that we have to ensure that our teachers see in every student the potential for that student to really fulfill their dreams and align what they're able to do after high school with what they're passionate about. Because too often I think that we're all impacted by our implicit biases, and everybody has them. The way that we're able to get past those is by being conscious of them and reflecting on them, and thinking about how they might be influencing what we do.
Thank you so much.
Stacy?
Yeah, I won't take up much time, and they're not really questions, just more comments. One is that this feels like a heavy lift for our wonderful counselors, and so I would just hope that the budget requests are to support them. It feels like a lot of this work will fall on them, which is appropriate, but I know that they're already spread really thin, so just want to put the plug in for that. And then just that I think it's great, and I think, Sam, you're right, this is one of the best presentations that you have given, and exciting. I appreciate both of you with the information, and just a quick throwback to many, many years ago, Sam and I were on a statewide committee talking about post-secondary workforce readiness. And so this is really exciting to see this come back to our district and how we're going to move that forward. I'm excited to see what happens. So thank you very much to both of you.
And I have questions too, but I'm going to try to reserve them. But they're along the lines of a couple things. One is I'm wondering how we can weave this into capstone, because it seems like there's some really good opportunities to weave it into capstone. And you already mentioned ICAP. I think ICAP's an underutilized tool, and maybe one that's a blunt instrument that needs to be refined a little bit more. But I think the intent is good for the ICAP. I also, this won't surprise you, but I think there will be some facility needs in implementing this, because I know that from what I remember for like the auto, there's certain standards that the facilities have to even be able to qualify for the certificates. So I look forward to, as we talk about our facility needs going forward, to figure out what our centralized facility needs look like in addition to our local ones at the high schools. And I think if I remember right, Arlie, part of what you have to do for Perkins money is you have to do surveys of the industry to find out like what people need, and you have a whole board of people that actually talk about that. And we don't need to talk about that now, but it might be really helpful for the board to understand kind of what that process looks like, because it's pretty elaborate. So it's not just like throwing darts at trying to figure out or relying on kids. There's a really thoughtful process in there for figuring out where the career paths are for kids. So I think it would be really helpful to do that. So I think that's what I have for right now. My underlying concern is I feel like kids are under a lot of stress, and adding this expectation onto all kids, I just worry we're pushing them really hard, and I can see it becoming competitive. I have one, I have two, I have three of these things. What about those kids who don't? Are we going to be supporting them because they're doing just fine not going through one of these? I just really worry about the level of stress that this could add to our kids, so I just want to pay attention to that and talk about it later. But I just feel like if we're pushing our kids to be mini college kids when they're sophomores in high school, sometimes that's not the best way to go for kids, for their mental health. And so that's one of my underlying concerns, is just to figure out how you marry the mental health and the stress that could come along with this pressure to be able to get an internship and to do all these things that I think are worthy goals, but at the same time, pushing our kids too hard. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but it just makes me worried a little bit. So,
yeah, me too. I think that everything within reason, right? I think that when we think about experiences and really, tonight is really about setting a vision for what is possible for our system and where we hope for it to go and evolve over time, right? I think we would get this absolutely wrong if every kid felt like, if I don't do all four of these things, then I haven't met them. It's a combination of some of these. For some kids, it'll be one. For some, it'll be a combination of those things. But I think that, and Stacy, I think appropriately shared this idea of how do we increase counselor bandwidth to be thinking about how do we guide kids in the right ways. How do we help them find their purpose, right? To find a pathway that makes sense for them, that gets them excited, that gets them engaged in school, right? Like that would be my hope, is that the end result of this is kids being really excited about what they're doing, can see clearly where it is, where they want to head after they leave us, and not in a way that creates more angst. Right, and I see that happening. I mean, I've got two kids in high school, and I do think some of the angst is that kids are preparing for something they don't know what it is yet. So they feel like if they don't do everything, that they might not prepare for what it is they even want to do. And I think that there's, if we get this right, that it becomes a clearer, energizing, exciting path, and then we allow kids to balance their aspirations with their mental health.
No, I agree. In that sense of engagement to something bigger than when you're in school could really help some kids become more engaged in school. So I get that. And I'm really excited about the internships, because I just remember, just pick auto, you would drive by 5 auto dealers to come here, and we didn't have a single internship or mentorship with any auto companies. And we had this great program. So I'm really excited about these opportunities. So Rob, we'll work with you and Laura and with the board to figure out when we can bring this back, because I think it'll give us a little more time to think about it and continue to support this great work. So thank you very much. So I think we'll take just a 5-minute quick break because we're running behind, but I think we just need to like kind of get reset up and take a 5-minute break. Is that all right with everyone? And we'll really try to make it 5 if we can.
Could you adjourn the board meeting, please?
Okay, Laura. I adjourn this work session and we'll start the regular board session at about 6:16 to 6:18. Thank you.